Wow! I feel the goo. I know that I won't know. I feel the goo. I knew that I would now. So much goo. So much goo. I got a you.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4 of the GUUCAST. Today we have two awesome guests with us. The first and second place Oceanics, players. And so I'll just have them introduce themselves before we jump right into it. Any shoutouts they want to have. So we'll start with Dino, and then we have Bohdan with us. So
Hi guys, I'm Dino. I just won Oceanics somehow. Just a normal guy from New Zealand that plays Yugioh for fun with friends.
it's awesome. And Bohdan.
Hey, I'm Bohdan Temnyk. I've done Team JRB Jobber. I don't know. I also play Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess. I'm in California right now, kind of laying on the floor in the heat.
Okay. Jesus, that does not sound too good, but
It's really pleasant, I'm not gonna lie.
okay, sure. But guys, we have a lot to talk about. If you guys were here for this past weekend stream, you saw that Oceanics just finished, and it was very eventful. I definitely was like really excited because I got to see some Rune gameplay, which is something that the weekend release, so that was cool. And we saw like tier limit, danger tier still like just clapping up the meta. And yeah, now Nesh, wanna jump right into it? The first thing of the day.
Welcome everybody. So first of all, Pak, do you remember the first episode of the GUUCAST?
Oh, I do.
I asked you, what's the goo?
Mm-hmm.
So after 4 episodes, what's the goo, Pak?
What's the goo?
What's the goo?
Bro, I'll be honest. The way I describe the goo is like, it's like the hidden tech. It's like the secret sauce. It's like the ratatouille. I don't know. It's something. It can't really be described. But what do you think?
I mean, you're still on the Eden sauce. I still think it's like I don't know. It's like this weird feeling of something new. It's something that cannot be described with simple words. It's a feeling. It's an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like getting your first present the day of Christmas. That's the goal.
The sazon, as people are saying it. Okay. I think as we go more and more episodes later, we'll maybe figure out and try to answer that question, because I think it's something that everyone wants to know and something that we don't even know ourselves. But so I guess we'll also ask Bohdan and Dino. So if you guys have heard of the goo, eh? What do you guys think that means?
I hung out with a lot of the New Yorkers when they started using that word, so it's like, yeah, it's tough to explain, but feeling is probably a good one. I don't know, it's one of those ones where you go to locals and your boy sits down and he's just like, bro, I got the goo, and then you have a look and you're like, shit, like you do, like, you know what I mean? Like,
of course,
that's the nice part about it. It's, you share it with your friends, you cook it up, the goo.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's like a dish almost. Okay. Dino, you thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely that one little new thing you add to your deck every time you go to a hobby or locals, and it's just one day you're just like sight locking them, the next week, you know what? This isn't fun. You bring out the morale tech instead. Start popping some cards. Just do something weird.
I like that. Okay, so now let's move to Oceanics. Okay, what would you consider the goo in your deck list? If you can name like a card, a tech, or something.
High spirits.
Yes. Yeah, people were hyped
go
about
over that.
Yeah, we're gonna go over that. That was sick with Death Frog. Yeah. Dino, you thoughts?
I don't know. My deck was just standard. I just played good cards and some bad cards, and the bad cards, like, I thought they were good. They weren't good. They were just bad cards. So like, definitely just a main deck rock. That just sometimes does it.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like your goo was hand traps. I have not seen tier limit players put hand traps in their decks in a minute. So I was when I saw you had that in your main deck, game 1, I was pleasantly surprised, and I was like, oh, this is kind of sick. He's nibbing the mirror match, and the guy in the opposite side just has no idea what's going on. Like, why am I getting nibbed? And my opponent goes Sharon effect afterwards. So I thought that was cool. So Nesh.
So how did you guys start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Let's start with Dino, and then we will move to Bohdan.
So I played a lot when I was younger, like pre-Edison format. When I was still in like 6th grade, 7th grade. And then I stopped for like 5-6 years, just throughout high school, and then picked up again. Like I moved to a different city when I started university, and then just found some people to play with, and then got back into the game. This was when Zoo was the best deck, and Dino Smashes had just come out, and I just got real good with dinosaurs. Kind of my namesake in New Zealand at this point, because I'm Dino and I play dinos. And yeah, that was the start, and then just friends along the way kept me playing, and it's a great community to be in.
Bohdan, how did you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh?
I just played at like the Toys R Us tournaments and stuff like that, and then played like a locals and just kept playing.
That's great.
And do you have any memories that you would like to share with us about the game and the people you have met through it? Like, which lesson did you got from the game? If we can say that was a lesson, you know? Like, you know, like, do you have any memories that you would like to share with us about the game?
Is that for me?
Yeah, both of you guys. Yeah, floor's open.
Yeah, for both of you guys.
I don't know. I'm in California now with my friends that I met from Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm laying on the floor of their house, so I guess that says it all. Probably an Australian boy in California, played a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh this morning actually. So
I think that's sick. I think like that's a really good point.
I think that's a lesson learned. You want international friends.
Like regardless of where you go in the world, you always have someone like there, right? Because that's kind of like the beauty. Like if you show up to Italy one day, like you have Nesh. You know, if you show up to like you show up in America, you have your boys out in California. Like it's just, I think that's like a really awesome vibe. Like people to like go anywhere and knowing you have somewhere to stay, or like the boys to like hook you up, basically.
Pretty much, it's nice.
Okay, so and let's talk about now the Oceanics. Okay, let's go on the point. Let's go on the Sazon. Okay, so location, venue, and judge. The overall experience. How would you describe it? As to both, let's start with Dino and then let's move to Bohdan.
Apart from the like hour late start, everything I feel like went really smoothly. Yeah, I don't think there were any issues. There was the like top cut bracket that was a little suspect, but the rest of it was all like real smooth. The stream was real nice. I feel like the setup's pretty good. I haven't been to that many like super big events. It's like just this and like YCF Sydney, and yeah, it's been pretty good.
What was the attendance like?
Yeah.
It was like 200 something, 300 something people?
It was, I think, 198 players in the main event.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is that common? Is that like the average attendance usually? Or is that like an uptick or like a downtick, would you say, from like previous years? Like pre-COVID, I mean, of course.
I think it's the record for largest New Zealand event.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, like pre-COVID, because like I used to work for the New Zealand organized play. And my understanding is I think maybe at nationals in like some of the infancy of Yu-Gi-Oh! It might have hit like the 250, 300 range, but Australia never really tipped above like 350, 370 for nationals, I think. So, and then obviously like our YCS is always big. So I think it's a pretty good number for New Zealand.
That's awesome.
But like it's relating it to how many Australians traveled over, right? It's probably the big thing. And I know a lot of New Zealanders ended up missing this weekend as well because of just the date and sort of the delay. People weren't able to get time off work and stuff, so a little bit awkward, but the event was smooth. Like head judge was good, judge team was good. Yeah, like the delay at the beginning of registration was because of the online stuff, and you have a lot of Australian people who filled out the form incorrectly, like the event form and like deck list submission. You know how it is, like all the delays usually come from other people messing up, not the event stuff.
Right.
Because if they were messing up, it would be more than one person usually. So it's usually just like a player registration issue. But yeah, everything went smoothly. I don't think I've had like, I guess the day 2 with 32 finishing at like 2 p.m. is like pretty reasonable. Yeah, I don't know. Swiss was good. Venue was kind of weird. They said they couldn't keep us in there until after like 7 p.m. because of security issues. Like the venue wouldn't let us hire our own security to like look after all the players because their security went off at like 7 allegedly. So that was kind of annoying, but that's not the TR's fault. It's the venue like sprung it on us last minute. So we had one round of Swiss in day 2 at the beginning. It was very tilting. But...
Yeah. Jesus, that's interesting. And so wait, where exactly was the event held? Like relative to where you're from, Bohdan, like how far was that travel for you?
It's like a 3-hour flight. So it's like Sydney to Auckland, yeah.
Okay.
It's not too bad. Like Australia itself is so big that Sydney to Perth is like one side of Australia to the other, and that takes longer than getting to Auckland. So in relation, Auckland's pretty close. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so
let's talk about the meta report, Nesh.
Yeah, let's start with the meta report. So we got on week 16, we got to the representatives of the Oceanic Championship top 32, and we had tier elements 43.8%, Sprite 28.1%, Runic, expected to be honest, 9.4%. It's not described if it's Runic Mine or other version of Runic. I mean, we are not supposed to know, I guess. Then Dragon Link, 3%, Eldritch, Flanderis, and Dino, Matmek, and Source of Steel, 3%. So,
okay.
That's weird.
Yeah,
because in OCG...
Yeah, what happened in OCG?
In OCG, the 43% should be Sprite, and 28% should be tier elements. So, what exactly happened in TCG to reverse those percentages?
Bro, I feel like it's because there's no Maxi and tier has such a higher ceiling. I mean, maybe Laminar, or maybe it's Garua and Super Poly. Like, there's, I don't know. I mean, you guys played the event. What do you guys think? Well, you guys both entered with tier elements, right? Some version of tier element, this past weekend. So, like, what is your thoughts? I guess with regards to that deck in comparison to like other decks in the format, like Runic Mine or Sprite, etc.
What you just had like Euros a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the 2 decks out of Euros were Herman's Danger Tier Element deck and Joshua Schmidt's Mystic Mine Sprite deck, right? So I think that Danger Tier deck being the more powerful deck obviously pushes it up in tournament play. Well, just like even tier in general, because I think someone top with the Punk build, maybe I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, basically it's like yeah. So it's like the more you sort of like play with that deck and you have a more defined list, this is what you got coming out of Euros. I think that's why you saw a higher conversion into tier. Also, I think a lot more people in New Zealand played tier, from my understanding, because they're anticipating the Ishizu stuff. So maybe looking from like the round 1 meta breakdown to like top 32. It might have just been a matter of numbers in the field, more than anything. Because people are more willing to hold on to the field spell and like the main deck stuff for the Ishizu cards in the Mama set. So
yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I do think that like to some extent, with Ishizu cards coming out relatively soon, the tier cards are just way better value. Like they're worth way more like hold wise, right? So 100%, yeah.
Yeah, you can look at the field spell now, right? The field spell versus blue is crazy.
Yeah, the difference is like 30 US, I believe.
Yeah,
it's quite a lot, yeah. Because the field spell, last I checked, like TCG players sitting at like 95 to 100, and then blue sitting at like 65 to 70. It's a huge discrepancy because they both started around the same when the set first got released, and you see that like blue's going down, but the tiers spell is holding up, which I think makes sense based on what you're saying for sure. But yeah, maybe Sprite is just like, I think the OCG is a very different meta, and I know like Nesh was saying that like the reverse was true where Sprite took more top cut slots even after the rune cards came out. But I think it's mainly due to like just Max C. I think that's like the main difference. So yeah. I mean, Nesh, you have something that I'm missing? Maybe?
Yes. Okay, so I mean, I wanted to go over the representation of the different version of tier elements.
Yep.
So there were the danger version, the non-danger version, and then we have the sprite version, the runic and the non-runic ones. And as we saw, like there were a very
Punk sprite also topped as well.
Punk sprite, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to also talk about the idea of playing sprite with like a different kind of sprite without a normal summon, with just the runic engine that Poe actually discovered. I would say. I think it was, I would say, the first approach that we saw so far.
Yeah.
The Poe approach by using the sprite without the normal summon, but fixing the lack of the normal summon using the runic engine, which is kind of
That's just what
smart. In my
Jesse was playing anyway, right? That was the Jesse Duelist Academy
Oh yeah, you guys
How
were
am I
trying.
supposed to know?
Yeah,
that he put out in the ether, I think. It was
Oh.
just
How am I
Sprite Rune,
supposed
right?
to
I
know?
think Pac definitely.
I knew about it. Yeah, I knew that Jesse was working
Yeah.
on a runic sprite deck. I think Nesh was talking to him
Oh,
more
I
about
know.
like that.
I know also that, but no, I know the build, but the build was different.
Yeah, I think it's more about that Poe took it to tournament.
Hers was more control.
Yeah.
Like that's also the big difference. Because I think the first instinct for the runic deck was either, you play it with Mystic Mine and just like all of these cards protect Mystic Mine, and they're all good individually. And also the fact that like your strategy just involves like crippling their deck by milling cards. Or you were gonna go like combo. I think Jesse was doing Angler and Beaver.
Yep.
I know I was playing like the Fabled and stuff like that. And then Poe's one was sort of the mid ground, which was like kind of instinctual, I think, for most people, to be honest. Like assuming I think most people assuming Tactical Masters wouldn't hit a delay for an event like Euros or something, where it was worth looking at Tactical Masters cards. So I think like some of the Europeans had a similar build of like, what if we use the rune cards as utility instead of hand traps or with hand traps or instead of board breakers sort of thing. But they just have like all of this overlap and they generate a monster. So I think it's just more for efficiency. So he was just playing basically standard sprite, no deep sea diva or beaver or something, right? Like I think he might have played beaver, I can't remember, but you see what I mean? Like it's just using it for their two effects instead of like the one effect, like the cheese aspect. It's like no, this milling is a bonus. It's just MST and a level 2 instant fusion, which I think is pretty efficient.
Yeah.
But is it the best way to play the deck? That's the question, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we're trying to figure out. Is runic sprite like, or is runes paired up with sprite cards like one of the best ways to play that or utilize that engine? Is it like the mine version where you activate a bunch of like runic cards, establish your floodgates? Dino, for you, did you look into the runic cards? I know you ended up playing Danger Tier, or sorry, you played Tier Elements, but did you also consider like the runic cards and their implications when you were, I guess, preparing for the event?
Not at all. I hadn't read any of the cards beforehand. A couple of my friends read them and said, yeah, you should like probably read them, but don't worry about it.
Yep.
Just prepare for mine pretty much. And yeah, that was the general vibe I got from the runic cards.
I don't think we can beat that deck going second. Like no matter what cards end up in the list is very, very painful, I think, for
Yes, it's actually very painful. It's actually very painful, yes. It's the issue is if they play floodgates, you just cannot approach against floodgates. Whichever deck you're running. If they are going second,
you go first, you get to play Godzilla.
Yeah. The issue is when you go like there is actually a very big issue when you go second, but depends if people are on the going first build, you know. But the going first build loses to the pure version of runic that plays more cards and there's way more circulation. Basically, who wins the mirror is the one who has more hammers, more golden droplet in the main deck.
Yeah.
And also starts his circulation before, or if he's not stupid, then summon the dog in the extra monster zone. If he summons the dog in the extra monster zone or summon a monster in the extra monster zone, he can basically mess up his entire circulation. So basically, the mirror wins who doesn't summon the monster in extra monster zone. That's also a thing.
Yeah, because you want to be able to like because you want to be able to like have as many live runic spells as possible to activate while having a field spell up. Like once you clock your EMZ and you can't use your pop and you can't use your negate ones because your opponent won't have anything. So yeah, 100%. I think like the rune cards are interesting. Like it's gonna be interesting to prepare for them for Niagara for sure. What's up, Nesh?
Okay, so basically We were going. I was testing multiple builds, multiple. I was also messing around with actually, with actually also the tier engine running with it. To be honest, here is the thing. I was thinking about mixing runic and tier elements, and also Pac knows about that.
Yep.
The thing is, okay, someone would say, okay, but if you play one runic card, how do you start your circulation? Because then if you play dangers, if you play runics, the shit cannot be 40, it has to be 50. How do you start your circulation if you play only one runic card? And that's when the Griffon came up very in handy. Because with the first runic card, then you search the field spell, set up the field spell play, and then with the Griffon you set back the quick spell that you used.
Yep, and you get to
And
draw
then you
3.
draw
And
2. Yeah, draw 3.
Draw
Three.
2 if it's deep, draw 1 if it's any other one.
Yeah, but presumably you would mill a bunch of cards though through your tier engine.
Yes.
So like most of the time you have like 5 to 6 cards. So you activate 1, draw 3, then you'll get another engine, draw 3 again back on your turn. Yeah, it's something I thought about. I couldn't fully conceptualize it though. In terms of like how do you combine runic and tier, as well as dangerous. My original plan was to be like you make Hugin and draw phase, discard like a Nessie or something, and like that's kind of nice. But I don't know, it might be a pipe dream to like try to.
Okay, I have a question for Dino. Dino, how do
Yeah.
you define a tier 1 deck? Like, which, I mean, how do you define it? How should it, which effect do you expect to have in a tier 1 deck list or in a tier 1 engine?
So the way I look at it is not really the decks as like the whole in the format. It's more which decks my deck is afraid of when I'm like seeing what deck is going to be like tier 1, tier 2, so on. Because I usually just decide what deck I want to play, and then the rest of the tier list is based on my matchups, and I want to hedge towards whichever deck is hardest for me to beat. So the tiering system doesn't really matter in that sort of sense. So like for my Tier Elements deck, so the hardest matchup's definitely Adventure Sprite, just because they don't care about hand traps and they can just play through a lot of the really small piece of interaction the tier engine puts up. So I would prepare more for that matchup, and opposed to something like the Danger tier deck where a lot of people are just playing into a Nibiru, so just having the Nibiru just beats that. But in general, it's can this deck win every single run in the event without getting lucky is just the bare minimum to be a good deck of tier 1.
Would you say that like you had like I know everyone jokes that like tier limit is the casino deck. It's like the deck that you have to basically roll dice for. How would you say your tournament experience has been with the tier deck? Did you feel like in control mainly? And this is also up for Bohdan to answer too, but like how would you explain to people who say, yo, I think it's a casino deck, I think you have to get lucky to win with that deck? Like, would you agree, disagree, maybe in the middle?
It definitely felt a lot of the time when you see your opening hand and you sequence your plays in such a way where if you miss every single mill, you still end on what you want to end on, which is a really common thing to happen with tier deck. Like in the mirror, you can really easily end on Dwellak Kalos Pass and 4 summons. Even if you miss everything, you just open 2 tier names.
Yep.
So it didn't feel like my mills impacted too much. Well, obviously, if you like watch the finals, game 1, it's definitely the mills let me win that game.
I remember that.
But also, there's some things
We'll
you
just
can
talk
do a
about
lot. You can do a lot in the tier deck to hedge your mills, like knowing which cards you put to the bottom of the deck. After you resolve desires, you can see which cards are banished. So you know what's going to be milled and what your opponent could mill if you're just keeping track of what's on the bottom of their deck. Which I think is a lot of the skill cap of the deck that people aren't really paying attention to.
I like that, yeah. I think that's cool. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like paying attention to what cards go to the bottom of the deck. So because you know that if you play like 12 tier names and you have like 3 at the bottom, you're like, okay, so I have 9 more in my deck somewhere. I don't know where they're at, but I only have 9 left. So like I like that. That's a good point. That's cool. Bohdan, what about you? Did you feel like the tier deck lived up to your expectations, or do you feel like you had to get a little lucky? How did you feel about the mills overall?
I thought I put on like a little bit of a clinic. Some of the games that I played against like just the not feature match, like towards the end of the game, like it didn't really matter. That's also like a weird mirror as well. But no, against like the other decks, I thought it wasn't a question. Like it's just like the more powerful deck. Like your opponents can't really do too much. The game I lost in Swiss was a match where I think it would have ended up being a draw, but it's like I rushed to make my field not knowing how long, because there's no clock on the in the venue, which is unfortunate. So like I think my opponent we started game 3 and I think he's like there's 9 minutes left. I make like my end board, but I was like rushing in a way where I try and get like another turn. So I kind of stuffed it, but then my board's like Elf, Collider, Hot something after I think he like resolved Pros, and then I like used a Meryl to play around like a Droplet or something. It was a weird line. I just didn't want him to get into like the value from Activate Right and then chain Droplet.
Yep. Okay.
And then so like I make a Collider Hot. He ends up like ultimate slaying the Collider Hot in the Elf zone, which I didn't realize till after, but like it just all crumbles down from there, and like between my turn and his turn, so like we all forgot, and that was my loss. And then I drew against Mathmech that like punted off game 1. Game 2 was like a long one and took him like way too many turns to kill me, and then game 3 I was playing around in Nibiru, so I didn't proc my Sheeran, and I just left it on field, and then I realized towards the end I didn't have a one for Agave. So I was like, okay. Yeah. And then I drew against Rune, because I think Rune is just like, that's a matchup you either lose to or you draw against. I think there's no mid ground. It either outgrinds you or just like, decks you out or something. Goes forever. But yeah, so it's like, again, like those were games that like I thought I could win as well. Like just based on the sheer power, like it just didn't seem close. Like maybe Rune it might be kind of off, but yeah, I think I won against Sprite that time I lost, and then I definitely won against Mathmech, if I wasn't dumb. So whatever.
Okay. So now, I think, I mean, let's talk. I mean, you were mentioning Agave Dragon. So let's talk about the tech in your deck list. So we have a Branded Eye Spirit. We have the Agave Dragon for time, right? And also for Dino.
I had Agave Dragon because of all the Mystic in the format. Yeah, I thought a lot of games just get dragged out. Especially if they Mystic Mine you and you have to draw an out to it as well. So like you'd probably like find yourself maybe getting Mystic Mine on turn 2 in a matchup where like you shouldn't be. Like, you shouldn't be prioritizing Eradicator, you should be prioritizing Snow. So I think Agave sort of just like lets you put some chip damage in or like gain in a matchup where they're never gonna kill you through doing anything, just with Mystic Mine. You can't set up a rad. So
wait, why not Cowboy?
The theory was that you might have to Agave earlier into mine. That just like actually came up where it's like there'll be enough time going into game 3 where it's just correct to take out maybe like one extra deck card to have Agave, and then you have all these turns to draw a Mystic Mine out if you can't prioritize Eradicator, maybe against a more like control deck. But they might have a point of interaction on the Agave if you have to like maybe you're into Galaxy Cyclone 1 turn, or you had to like Dark Rule, or you can't clear. You might just do Agave to have a life point deficit, and then it might be like 3 or 4 minutes left. But they might have Impalm, so Snow beats Snow on Agave beats Impalm, because we're expecting them to be playing some of the time anyway. And like obviously if there's hand traps involved,
Dino
too. Green,
Dino.
Yep.
Yeah. So like the more you play, the more way you have to interact. Yeah. That's like the biggest one. The more like chain links you can build with Agave, because it's an on-summon trigger effect instead of Cowboy, which loses to Nibiru as well. That's the big one. It's really just for the Mystic Mine hedging. Yeah. That was the biggest issue.
No, I actually agree with that. I think Agave being an on-trigger effect actually is nicer, because I think my issue with Cowboy is I do find myself making it on the 5th summon a lot, especially as you try to combo. It's like making it on the 4th is hard, but yeah.
It's also like I'm defaulting to Curious.
Yes.
Games where you have to like find an out or maybe mill out.
Yep.
It does sort of it just gives you a little extra security, which is funny. And so it also comes up you're putting it in early. You might just make it for a life point deficit with like 5 minutes left in the round, right?
Yep. Oh, that makes sense.
And you're just like trying to play out a game against maybe a slow Mystic Mine deck, maybe it's Rune. Yeah, so like you Griffin curling to Agave Dragon comes up too, which is very funny. Like not super frequently, you need a lot of bodies for that, but it can be an end board you make to try and like draw to another Mystic Mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's insane. I never thought about it like that.
I don't know, dude. I think it's like a necessary evil. It's just too many Mystic Minds in the format. Like, yeah, like, dude, putting that card into my deck, like, literally in game 2, expecting the matchup to go long because the mine was just what was happening. Like, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Did you do any time cards? Do you have any time cards, Dino? Did you play any something like that? Because I know everyone I've been watching deck profiles just put in time cards.
I feel like I had a very different tournament experience to a lot of other people because I did not go to time a single time until the finals. All my matches were over in 20 to 25 minutes.
Okay, gotcha. And the thing is, I know you know how in game 3 against Bohdan, I think I thought you played like some time comp, but it seems like you didn't, right? Like you never felt like you needed it, right?
He did.
No, I just didn't run one.
Yeah, you just didn't run. Yeah, that's interesting because I know like everyone all the profiles I've been watching, they always like side some sort of time con right now, which is because it's unfortunate, but like the theory that I've seen people have been doing is like game 1, they try to break your board. If they succeed, then game 2 you have to go first and make a board. They'll attempt to break your board. And that burns so much time, and then game 3 they just go first, and like it makes it so unfortunate where like if you lose game 1 in your attempt to break a board and don't successfully do so, you just auto lose the match, which is quite frustrating sometimes. And I think that's more of like a time rule thing rather than like I don't know. It's something to consider for sure.
I also think it's something that depends on how you build your deck too. So I think with Dino's deck, where it's like if you have the dangers right in a standard tier deck, they do take a long time to resolve. So your turn ones take quite a lot. Whereas if you're only really having like a couple lines of play with your opening hand, like it'll just be standard tier stuff. I think your end board is just like, you know what I mean? Like there's less click actions to sort of get to what you're trying to aim for, and then it's just hand traps. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, I also, to be fair, like a lot of my games ended in time in like game 2. Because it would be a lot of like my deck being like the ceiling deck where they'd make a board, but their deck's obviously a lot worse than mine because it's not, doing anything particularly unfair. And then I'd break through their board and set up. But, they sort of don't understand, like, hey, you probably can't ever kill me game 1. Maybe you should concede a bit earlier because game 2 is just going to end up being the same, but you'll have Mystic Mine in your deck. You know what I mean? So that's sort of like what would happen. I get Mystic Mine or something, and I have to draw an out. I know it's there. You know it's there. You just don't. You're hoping I don't have it, I guess. So it's just the unfortunate part, but that's on Mystic Mine's design more than anything, right?
Mine makes it so 8. Jesus. Yeah.
When the mine is mystic, boys. When the mine is
pretty
mystic.
unfortunate. But yeah, like most things.
Okay.
Yeah. Nash.
So the question I want to ask, okay, Bohdan, you didn't play Dweller in the main deck, right?
I did play Dweller in the main deck. I sided it out because it was the top card of my extra deck.
Oh.
And I did not think so. Like I did not think that we would get like a real game in, right? Like I thought it would either be turns or it would be, first damage or something. And I just like in my head I was like, whatever, like it'd been a long day. I was just like whatever. Let's just we'll play it out. I expected to lose on his turn 1, and I was like, I'm probably just not gonna get a turn, and none of this matters. You know what I mean? And like you have to unsleeve an extra deck card to side in an extra deck card. Like they had to pause the clock because of how tedious it is. I have a double sleeved extra deck, but not a double sleeved main deck. So there's a side deck. Yeah, I was like, this is atrocious. So Dweller was just like the convenience one. It would have been the second elf, which I did in a lot of matchups. Like I said, like usually if there's like X amount, like 9 minutes left or something, and you think you're going to play a real game, it might be a game where instead of going for like the Smash's second elf play, you might just do something else. Oh, actually, no, I would say Dweller out against Sprite, but against Tier, I would keep Dweller in and keep the second elf out if there's like a reasonable enough amount of time in between. If I think I'm playing a long game that might be a Mystic Mine sort of game. But I think there's still a lot of people on Mystic Mine, which makes it kind of awkward, even like Tier players. But yeah, I did play Dweller.
Yeah, that was like the meme you were making. I was like, bro, you guys are evil. I hate these people.
Yeah. It's so bad, dude. I don't even know if it's so funny. It's like I know how I win the game 3. It's just like I meant to change Super Poly, but part of me was like, okay, well, he definitely just has a Tier in hand, and it's just gonna proc the Rhino Heart. Like, yeah, the Dweller's gone, but then what? And I was trying to like run the numbers in my head of like what could happen. I think I leveled myself into it having to be a Tier in hand every single time. Like that's why I was also like mulling between like maybe it's just so like meta noise and there's no response. But like I audibly said, yeah, Nibiru is just like here. The idea was like if I have Dweller, I can possibly just like Dweller under 5 and block Snow, and then it's just game anyway. But I don't know. Like, I just did a bunch of stuff that I shouldn't have, despite saying before I did it that it was something else. So.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
And I think that's like beautiful because like I think you take like responsibility for your mistakes, and I think that's how like we all get better, right? Like so, and it's like it's a
it just doesn't matter. Like I call myself an idiot right after. You know what I mean? Like I know when I make a mistake, I just can't help myself from doing them sometimes.
I know, yeah, dude. Trust me.
That was literally the next topic. Like, did you rewatch your game?
I didn't
your final?
It, but like
analyze the game state in order to find the mistakes.
I think that if there's a tier in his hand, there was a world where I was meant to like try and set up like assuming I still had Dweller, set something weird up where it was like if he tries to Celic or meta noise me at any point, I change Super Poly, then I fizzle the trap, and like then if he has a tier in hand, it doesn't matter because I would have like had Dwell alive already. So that was like another consideration I had that I was trying to lead into, but obviously didn't really get me though. So yeah, like I had a lot of like factors going on. I just had to not do the incorrect one. I think game one I also had like another couple of things I could have done, but obviously like in my head and at the time it did look like I did the correct play because he had one card, you know, and then Dino, the god himself, Pot of Desires into the nice cards, and I got destroyed. But like yeah, at like the surface level, it was like. I guess. Also, to be fair, at the time I was like, I wonder what card he could have. And then I was like, oh wait, Pot of Desires. I don't think anyone resolved Desires against me all weekend.
Bro, that Desires was...
all games was like, oh no. Like, they were nice. That was good. Yes,
and I think you milled Snow too, randomly. I was like, yo.
The Snow was at the very end of the Dark Merly of his.
Yeah.
The Desires also only banished spells and used names. So... the only things left in my deck were names I hadn't used yet and Snow.
It's a matter of destiny at this point.
Yo, bro, oh my god, you just see me. I was on the edge of my seat. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. And then I'm like, yo, what happened? And then it was an OTK line. I was like, yo, this is, man. Those type of games are dope though. Like it's like super on the edge of the seat. So I mean, it sucks being there, like watching it happen though. I'm sure. I mean, but. Yeah,
I mean, that was the one game that I had to go to the casino and pray because I'm not winning if it goes to game 3, and if I lose game 1, I lose game 3. So
yeah,
but here is the thing. Okay, so I guess for Dino it's Entrap, but Bohdan, how do you plan to beat the mirror if you go second, especially in the game 1?
What do you mean?
I mean, they dweller you, bro. In the top cut, they know you're playing the tier elements.
Yeah, I side in my 9 hand traps.
No, I'm saying in the game 1. Do you have a game plan to beat the mirror, or it's a 50-50?
Oh, yeah. It depends like what the deck is doing though, because you still have like. Sometimes my opponent would dweller me game 1, and the only time it was relevant is if they did the super duper nuts combo that stopped you from attacking over dweller without investing 68 different cards. So it ended up being like some super poly hand, right? That's the only way to beat dweller.
Yes,
and that's like that's all you can do. Yeah, pretty much. That would just be it. So like you accept it, but
I've had people miss. Like I would get dweller in the mirror, and I would be going second, and my opponent would misplay somehow, and that sets super poly.
Activate dweller.
No, not that. Like they would activate dweller on me.
They would activate dweller in the draw phase and let you set it to you.
Yeah, that was crazy, dude. Dino, yo, we gotta talk about that too. You literally inadvertently played it on Gamma. I don't know, yo, that was crazy.
Oh no, I was actively playing her on Gamma. I saw it milled in game 2 when I crowed the Chiron of the high spirits. I'm like, oh, he has Gamma.
Yeah,
oh, that could have been real bad.
That could have been real bad.
Game 3.
Yeah. Dude, so many crazy things happened. Yeah. But
what about the super poly, Bohdan? Why you decided to? Okay, here is the thing. If you chain Gamma to DD Crow, then you know his dweller is resolving.
What's up?
No, I know. That's directed for me, right? Sorry, it's just cutting out on the internet. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Okay.
So you're asking about my super poly that I didn't activate it?
It's more about why did you prefer Gamma over super poly?
Oh. Well,
because
I got to do both. I had the opportunity to do both, right?
No, he could not do both, Puck.
I could do both. I could have, yeah. I Gamma the DD Crow and nothing happened, and then I super poly the Dweller and the Rhino.
Yeah,
I mean, he should chain... No, he was supposed to chain Dweller on the Gamma
effect. I know. If that plays out that way, yeah, I know. Yeah, if that plays
I'm a little afraid of the second Gamma, because if I chain Dweller again, and he just has a second Gamma in hand, I still just lose. Because then he doesn't negate the Crow, but he negates the Dweller, and I just lose at that point.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't chain the Dweller straight away after the Gamma.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, if I was Bohdan, I would not read my opponent being afraid of a second Dweller. A second Gamma, sorry.
Yeah, I was
And-
really just trying to put you on a tier or not. That was like the only thing I had to figure out, because like I feel like a tier in hand is the only thing that kind of screws me there if I like shotgun the super poly. So I was like, okay, how do I extract the extra value against like a trap or something? Because that's the only reason why you put Rhino on board with Lala, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good. That was yeah. Cause I was thinking about it. I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure you know Super Poly. You're afraid of Super Poly because of like the extra name in his hand. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For
It's
sure.
like I think I get punished, right? It's like Collider Hot plus Trap. I get super destroyed, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure.
I mean, don't you go...
Oh, you get to make Mud Dragons.
Don't you go mad priority called Dark and is fucked?
Yeah, I should have. Scrub told me that. He was like, you could have just Mud Dragon to play around the trap the whole time. I was like, yeah, I guess that makes a lot more sense too.
Like he was losing on the spot. Like Mud Dragon, if you do Mud Dragon as the first
Yeah,
play,
yeah.
tier elements
Yeah.
just cannot beat it. I mean, I guess there were a lot of oopsies anyways. Like
It's
I
alright.
guess it's a final up and
I mean, yeah, because then I
At the
still
end
have
of the day.
a really big monster and a crow and a nib, and that probably stops me from taking damage.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
bro, you were dead. Let's be real.
Yeah. Like Mud.
Yeah.
Like, bro, let's be real. You were absolutely dead. If Bohdan didn't smoke something good that day before that game, you were absolutely dead.
Oh yes, yeah.
Bro, there were so many lines that could lead Bohdan to the win, in my opinion. I rewatched the shit like three times.
Clicked button.
Click
I
buttons.
think part of me didn't remember that it was in time, and I had to try and do something that I didn't have to. But who
I
knows?
mean, I think
Okay.
like
if I had
it's
Dweller, it's crazy. If I had Dweller, maybe I'm okay. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah.
Okay, first of all, I have to apologize because sometimes I'm very passionate. If you watched the VOD, you might have seen me talking Wattpack.
Talking some shit, yo.
I mean, not as bad. Like I would say, I did to Bohdan, but definitely to Dino. So
Oh, no.
yeah, I mean that's true. I'm not. I'm not the best human in the world. Sometimes I do mistake as well. And I'm here to apologize, Dino. Sometimes, I get over my head. Sometimes I should just get the head out of my ass. Because I get too passionate over this game. Because I love this game. And I watch it like a football championship,
Yeah.
When the other squad score a points and you scream, yo, like that's the feeling I have. I don't follow football, but I follow Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's literally football for me. If you get what I mean. So I'm sorry, and I hope you accept my apology.
Yeah, no hard feelings. Like it's we all make mistakes. We all are angry when you see someone
I mean, I was not
doing
angry. I
something
was
not
very
as
passionate.
good as
Yeah.
like when you see someone doing something that you could do better.
No,
and
I
you
mean,
just
I'm
feel
not
like-
saying I can do it better. Don't get me wrong. I'm a DB warrior. Let's be real for a second. I'm not saying that I can do it better. It's like when you watch football and you see the guy not score the point when he's close to the to the lead line, the goal. Yeah, when he's close to the goal and the guy doesn't score, doesn't mean that you are a football player. You can do it better.
Mhm.
Means like it's not like.
Yeah, I think like my whole stance on this whole thing is dude, that's why when I commentate this stuff, I'm not as passionate as Ness. I go like, yo, that's crazy most of the time, in my opinion, because I think it's like I don't want people to ever take it the wrong way, because I think you always have to look at it objectively from like the person who's getting commented on, like, and their feelings too, because it's you have to find the right dynamic between talking strictly more about the play and like not attacking the person, right? I think that's like the most important thing, where you have to be objective about the play, and move it away and take it, like really move that away, like from the person itself, and I think that's important for sure. So
Yeah, no, as I said, I'm very passionate about this game. So if you guys get offended by me going over the replays of your games, it's not because I can do it better. It's because I notice a mistake that could have changed the entire game state. But not because I would not do that.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier.
That has to be clear.
It's way easier.
like you
way easier.
see stuff that we
I mean,
don't
I'm not
see.
saying
Yeah,
I'm not
so it's
saying
like,
that I can do
it's
it
good that
better.
you can identify it, right? Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, it's good if someone identifies it, because sometimes it'll be like they catch an illegal play and someone will be like, this guy cheated. But then at the same time, like, I know a lot of people, myself included, where like you make a play and you're like, oh shit, like I'm an idiot, like they're right, and then you like tell the judge, and the judge is like, oh, don't, like it's too late now. But just like silly stuff that you know to not do, and like why would you try it on the stream?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes,
Like,
yes,
what
yes.
is like you if you were like doing it actively to cheat, like a lot of the time it's someone just being an idiot, like like linking with Elf, like I've done that, like just a little stupid
I did
things
that.
like I catch it right off, like, oh wait, yeah,
bro.
and, dude, it's so funny, it's so easy to forget. You're like the link monster, cool. Like the only one I still don't link off with is Samog.
I mean, I went to an event and I did the Rocky mistake. I put a card in my main deck in the extra deck.
Oh god, yeah, that happens.
I mean, bro, illusion, bro, illusion. That shit is literally a link monster, especially with the American print. But it's okay.
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, as I said, if I judge the plays, it's not because I would not do the same mistakes. Yep. It's because, as I said, I'm very passionate, and I don't know, like it's an emotional feeling, you know. Mm-hmm. And I hate when I read the comments on Facebook, like people saying, "Yo, he misplayed, he did stuff like that," and someone commenting below saying, "Can you do it? Can you do better?" They don't get the feeling. It's not that they can do better, okay? Because let's be real, it's not easy to achieve a YCS final. Don't get me wrong. It's already a very hard accomplishment. But what I'm saying is, it's just
how many of those
it's amazing
are also just,
to
like,
find
parroting what you said, though, right?
Yeah.
People like you, and they wouldn't know. They're doing it because everyone else is saying that person misplayed, right? So it's like a bunch of layers to it. But if you're saying you're doing it for the sake of content and like knowledge of the game, right? So that way, if people are watching, they're informative. They don't make the same mistake playing, you know, their tournament. But if it's like people just doing it to comment, like that person misplayed, but it's like I know that person wouldn't know why.
They wouldn't even know,
I made a mistake. They've just watched, you know, like a stream. It goes down both ways, right? Yeah, it gets kind of weird. It depends on like, you know, who the person is too. 100%. But I agree. It's never a case of this person can do it better. It's like for the sake of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally it. So I hope you guys don't get offended, especially if I'm very passionate and I notice a misplay and I call you dog. I mean, obviously.
I mean, I DD Crow to kick Kalos that was resolving. Like I deserve some criticism.
Okay, you better watch my new YouTube video because that part is in my YouTube video. It's and he was literally screaming, "That's crazy!" And it was like, "Yo, that's crazy!"
Nah, to be honest,
that was by far the dumbest thing I did.
Nah, you're good, bro. You're good.
As I said, it happens. It happens.
Happens.
I just don't want you guys to get offended. Yeah. Remember that it's my content. I'm just making bread out of this shit. That's
it keeps it real.
Simple like that.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, I'm real. I'm making bread out of this shit.
Yeah.
Like me screaming on Farfa, like I coached Farfa about DDT, bro. Holy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have to help Nadir. I would scream, pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah,
bro.
No, he's fine. We used to do that though. We used to be in the Discords, and it'd be like all the Europeans, and he'd be like, "What do I do?" We're just like the same thing we told you last game. He'd be like, "Oh, okay." He's gotten a lot better now, which is good. So less yelling, I think.
Yeah.
More frustration for him when he's playing on stream, maybe, and people try and correct him.
Yeah, I think that's why he's triggered now, because too many people on stream try to do what you guys do to him, but they're not as good as you guys. So they're just
pretty much.
Yeah. Nah, I feel that.
Right? Like, it's so funny.
All right, let's move on.
Let's talk about the siding pattern. The siding pattern is an issue that every player has. For example, when me or Pak get a coaching session, the first thing, or at least the second thing that people are asking for is, Nash, Pak, how do I side? What are the siding patterns? Especially in tier elements, that's not easy to understand what you have to side out, what you have to side in. And I would ask, since you, Bohdan, and you, Dino, you both made to the final, what are your guys' siding patterns?
So this event specifically, I just didn't really have many going into it because I was sick the entire week before, and like I hadn't really played anything for like a month. Like the tier cards came out, I tested a few things, I watched a few things, and then like it was scrambling. Like I wanted to get some other cards for my side deck. Like I wanted a high rated draw, as another mine out, but I just could not find one, and things like this. But in general, it just became what cards in my deck do I not like in a matchup, and do I have enough cards to put in for that matchup? And it just
You
came
got
down
a
to
lot
that.
of mirrors, right?
I played 6 mirrors and 5 times against Sprite, were like the big ones.
Jesus.
Okay.
That's the meta.
Okay, tell me for the mirror, usually what your side pattern is going second.
He said he doesn't really have one, right? Or
Oh, he
so
doesn't remember by
it
heart at least
developed to the
something.
point where so because everyone was in the Eradicator build, I took out Terraforming, I took out Rota, Foolish, all these random one-off spell cards that don't do anything instantly, and then in came Lava Golems, in came the third Nib, and in came Reboot, and then depending on whether I thought they were siding Floodgates or not, that Twin or Duster would hit, I'll put those in as well. But it's like usually like a small like 6-card side, and for the mirror, because I already had the Crows and the Nibs and the Imperms in the main, so there wasn't much of a side out. And obviously the going first trap, like the Dynamiscuses and the Metanoids also came out going second.
What about the Ash? Because you said you didn't really like it.
The danger tier deck it just has so many things to Ash that just don't do anything. Like if you Ash them, they just resolve the effect in a different way. So it just the card is just awful into the mirror. Like the best thing you can do is stop a Curious.
Like what is Sprite that you Ash except for
starter? That's the only good one.
I mean, you can Ash Starter, you can Ash Gigantic. If you have Ash and another hand trap, it's generally enough.
Pretty much, right? But I think like the fact that you have to pair it against Sprite makes it like the more awkward sort of situation.
Yeah.
I think the only time the single hand traps become good is when people get really, really scared of like board breakers more than anything. They might not summon red and commit to making a bigger field.
Yeah.
Because they're not playing around hand traps in general, right?
Yes.
The Ash was a lot better also going first. Because when I set up my board in the mirror and then they trying to crack a Dweller and then you Ash their Shiren, there's suddenly one body down they can never get back. And then they can't Dweller you back, so it's a lot better going first.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think that makes sense to me.
As Entrap choice, I like a lot Didicro, obviously, because Didicro is the most generic one. It's a sort also of a trade that if you draw it as a 6th card, I like it still a lot. Bell, for the same reason, it's an alive card that you draw it as a 6th card, and you can trade it with a Toad, you can trade it with an Elf, and those are the main threats of the decks right now, in my opinion. And against them in tier elements, obviously, those 2 cards are broken. So I like a lot Didicro and Bell, and those are my favorite one. Then if we go over other Entraps right now, I don't think Ogre is good anymore. Ogre was okayish before. It was only good against the Sprite before and decent against tier elements to use against the Dracostapelia if you were playing Sprite, and it was okayish if you were drawing it as a 6th. But now with the adventure of the runic cards and the Eugene in order to protect the Xyz, now Ogre is not good. It's even worse now. It's very, very bad. So, what do you guys think about Bell? I think we are in kind of an agreement about Didicro. I think Bell is better than Ash, in my opinion. Because, as I said, Bell is an active trade when Ash is a preventively... It tries to trade, but doesn't really trade, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Ash is definitely the least performing hand trap. And Ogres were in my side deck, but they also just did not perform at all. The entire weekend.
I like Imperm, Bell, Didicro, and Nibiru might be probably. I mean, in my opinion, should be. I don't know if in the main deck or in the side deck. I mean, Dino, since you like it a lot in the main deck, I guess you can main deck it. But Bell Impermanence and Diddy Crow are my favorite Entraps right now. If I have to play Entraps in a main deck, then I don't know about Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the one thing with Nib that's cool in the Tear deck is when you open the hands out like Tear Harvness, Nib going second, you can Harvness, and even if it misses, you can Nib your own Harvness and it still resolves.
Yeah.
And you've got a lot of situations where, like, if they stop you from playing, but you end on a tail element and they're all big, so you can beat over like at least Elf with them usually, or something like that. And you just set a couple of cards, and then on their turn, they have to push through a tear that's gonna get triggered by a Nib and your back row and whatever other hand traps you have. Which came up a lot during the event and a lot during testing, where Nib just synergizes really well with the tailment cards.
Yeah.
I mean, it does, but the issue is a sprite. Because, okay, let's think about it, okay? Because as we agreed about, and I guess, we agree about it, we say that Bell, Diddy Crow, Impermanence are very good, okay? But then how do you pair them with an Nibiru against a sprite? You don't.
Yeah. I think
except for Impermanence.
I think it was more about like the fact that Nib is a good go first card too. I think we all know that Nib is not that great going second to Sprite. It's more about the fact if you go first with the tier deck with Nib in your main, I think it's very hard for them to make Gigantic under 5, in my opinion. It's like really difficult. I think Nib going first with the board, it's like I'm not saying it's like maxi.
Yes, but, Nibiru going first is always good because an interruption can proxy the impermanence that you should have going second in order to make Nibiru broken. Obviously Nibiru is broken when you go first.
Yeah.
But you have also to consider how your deck performs going second. And if I have to have a Nibiru against a Sprite going second, I'm not sure about that one, Chief.
It comes down to numbers, right? Like, he played more, like, if you think about it, like, look at Top Cut representation. There was more tier players than Sprite in Top Cut. So, like, having Nib in the main actually was more beneficial because you're more likely to play against a tier in Top Cut. Based just off statistics from the Spas. I mean, you're not always right? You could absolutely be wrong with the decision to main deck Nib. But it's like, I think for this instance, I don't think it was the wrong choice.
Considering the representation with the 43%, definitely Nibiru was a very good meta call.
Yeah.
Obviously, I cannot read the future like the guy that set the starter in the column of rivalry, but that's another story.
Jeez. But I think it also makes sense. So look at the last event that happened. We had Rio. You had Rio, and then you had what was the other event? Euros. Both event had more people topping with tier, actually.
I mean, tier is definitely, in my opinion, the best engine so far.
Yeah.
It's so explosive. Can play through a lot. Can be played in different ways.
Yep.
It's so resilient if you play it with the dangers. And I have also some questions about the different builds that we have today, the Entrap builds and the danger build. So I want to ask some questions to Dino about how do you see the choke point in tier elements? How do you see the choke point against Sprite? How do you recognize the choke point? If we talk about an average end of Sprite, okay, how do you decide to entrap in that specific spot? Like, for example, I don't know, impermanence, okay? How do you see that impermanence is good in that spot or not?
I mean, a lot of the time it's for Sprite, it's really straightforward. Like, you know they're gonna summon a Gigantic unless they've already summoned a Frog. But if they start with normal Frog summon Sprite, you're losing that game. Like, it doesn't matter. But it's always you just kind of know that you have to imperm the Gigantic. If they make Elf above it, they're playing into Nib. Like, they didn't really have a choice in that. Like, they either lose to Imperm or to Nib. They can't.
Yes.
They usually can't play around both. And against Tailment, it's a lot harder because obviously Imperming a Kit Killos is really good. But also, if that was the first thing they did, and they have another 4 cards in hand, it suddenly looks a lot worse because then a lot of the time Dangers can just push through that. So maybe you hold your Imperm then for either the following turn to just trade for an interaction, or for the Curious if they don't have Snow or Eradicator or Rotation already.
Yep.
There is also another thing. Me and Dani were discussing about it, and I think we came to a sort of agreement. We don't like to DD Crow the first tier elements. Because they can usually play through the first DD Crow on the first name and still go into Kit Kalos, but if you let them go into Kit Kalos, they will try to summon the Garura with the second name, or to try to summon the Modi with the second name. And it's gonna be way harder for our opinion to recover from that spot. So I was discussing with Pak, I was discussing with Ani, and we came to a sort of agreement that DD Crow on the first name might actually be incorrect if they open with another engine that can play through it. So do you have any thoughts about it? Did you ever think about this sort of interaction?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot comes down to how they started their turn and how the first name is resolving. And obviously like what you have. Like if you're going second, you have absolutely nothing else than just a DD Crow, and like they start with high spirits. Like I guess at that point, if you don't DD Crow, you're just praying that they have like absolutely nothing. So like their DD Crow doesn't really do anything. You're better off probably just saving it to like force a double snow activation or something. Whereas if they start with a couple of dangers and then they normal a Rhino and their Rhino effect, and they've used like 3 cards in their hand already, then a DD Crow suddenly looks a lot stronger on the first name.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Yeah, I think what the scenario that comes up for me is like if your opponent goes like Sharon and they go Sharon pitch a name to guarantee the combo, and when the Sharon mills 3, it hits the second name, right? I would say 90% of people activate both names, right? And when they do that, I just don't use my Crow because it doesn't do anything. And then what they end up making is usually a Mud Dragon plus Kikalos. And then the last Crow just goes in so hard. That's typically the scenario that it's presented to me a lot. And that's why I usually, depending, like, obviously, like, 100% agree with what you're saying, that it depends, to be honest. But, like, in the hand...
Obviously, it depends.
Yeah, but in the hands that they go Sharon pitch name and they mill a second name, 90% of people will activate the second name. And just make Mud plus Kikalos, and that third, that DD Crow and that last name just, like, so broken. But a lot of people are pretty trigger. Yeah, they're trigger finger with it.
Yeah, I definitely noticed a lot of the tier players were triggering the names as soon as they were getting in graveyard, and they're not waiting. Bohdan just makes Nibiru so much stronger in the mirror.
Yeah.
When the names on field don't float anymore, as well as some of them triggered both names and then only summoned Kikalos anyway because they just want to play around the DD Crow, which also just lowers the ceiling of your deck a lot.
Yes.
And then the DD Crow still like gets the third name no matter what. Or at the very least, it'll try and stop a Dweller. It'll like get a 4 out of the graveyard.
Yeah, 100%. But let's move on to, like, I guess the tech of the day, since we're on in that sort of realm already, like moving from hand traps. But Branded and High Spirits, this was a card that I wasn't really too sure on. And Bohdan, I know you played it. How would you describe that card? Is it like I guess like
it was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was the best card in my deck. Yeah, like
okay.
Because we've been testing it for a while. So what happened was, Blake Funderburg found a random YouTube video of this dude resolving High Spirits, and there was like a random like Chinese or Japanese deck list that we found on the old compendium of like OCG lists, and he had High Spirits too. So we just kept playing, and there were a bunch of cool things we could do with it. Like at first it was in tier, and instead of searching like Albion, you had the option to search like the branded stuff. So it was like branded in High Spirits, like tier with branded fusion and stuff like that. And then it sort of evolved into like a more combo based version. My initial instinct was like the dangers.
Okay.
I really like the dangers. And like obviously the first thing we'd look at I think was like, oh, what typing can you have? Because branded in High Spirits discards, which I think is ridiculous. So it's like you can like have Bigfoot in your deck. And I think the the requirement is like you have to play the Tri-Brigade Brigand fusion or something.
Oh.
And you can use that to discard Bigfoot as like spot removal, which we thought was really, really funny. But yeah, like at the end of the day, I think the highest, like after like a week or two of testing the deck, I think the highest count it went to with just like the engine was like maybe branded retributions, like the trap. because you can send that off Albion, and then it lets you add high spirits back to your hand to play around like Dark Ruler and stuff with a second name. There's a quick play as well.
Oh.
You get to do quite a few things with that. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And like Retribution's like an interaction if you draw it, but it was mostly just the value of Albion. You can do some cool stuff with it in like I said, like the Branded Fusion deck, solely for the fact that like you just get to send Branded Fusion off Albion, which you get to search for with the quick play, which lets you make a fusion. Like it all sort of compounds, makes it look really, really ridiculous. But even just like 3 Branded and High Spirits and 1 Albion, like the 0 punish.
Yeah.
There's also like the crazy thing as well is like it doesn't it just doesn't like you just activate it. It doesn't do anything at activation. Right? Like it just all does it when it goes to resolve. So you can choose to not discard and add Albion or just use it to Foolish Burial the D3S frog. So there's like random ones where maybe you draw it in a weird spot, like maybe there's like a resolving chain where like a tier is proccing on the next action, but you've taken a draw from like Garura or something, maybe something involving Curious, so you draw like High Spirits and you have a tier in hand, but it's a tier that you've already triggered, so you just want to activate High Spirits, and then you'll just like reveal the tier, dump the D3S, and then use that to fuse with the tier that you already have on the chain.
Oh,
pretty interesting.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's just like putting an extra name in there, even in like the worst case scenarios, was pretty funny, to be honest. It was nice. And also against the trap decks, because it's a quick play, under like rivalry and stuff, you would only just make kick colors and start popping cards with the field spell.
Yes.
And because High Spirits lets you add back in the end phase if you didn't use the first effect.
Yep.
Then you're able to just keep cycling it. And as long as you keep a tier in hand, all you're doing is just like continuously cycling into cards like kick colors, and you just you have 2 kick colors, like repeat the process and pop with the field spell. So that was very, very cool. It was very interesting into some floodgates to help me beat like rivalry and stuff. I thought it was
cool. Dude, you're like a salesman right now. You're convincing me on this card.
Dude, it's so good, man.
Yeah.
You get to play D3S Frog as well.
That's true.
We thought that card was nice. That card's so sick. I think Asala played it at Rio. Jesse didn't play it at Rio because he used Desires and Gizmek, but
yes, because
Jeff and Max have been playing a lot of regionals with it. Yeah, they've been doing really good.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, because I was trying, when I watched you play it on stream, I was trying to think about like what a card is similar to, and I was like explaining to people, I'm like, yo, it's like a guaranteed danger. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like,
much. It was like 3rd, 4th, 5th. Third and 4th. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th instant fusion. What am I saying?
Because I was like, yo, like not only it's not the fact that you get to trigger a tier. Because if you go danger, you hit a tier name, right? It's kind of weird because if you don't already have an Aqua in the grave, it's kind of suspect.
Yeah. That's what I found, and like I imagine Dino found the same thing of like, sometimes your initial danger, if it isn't Nessie, is just terrible.
It's just terrible.
Yeah, the typing doesn't match up, right? Yeah,
yo, tell that to Hani.
Really
yo, the guy swears on Bigfoot.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, okay, let's talk about it. Why dangers, in my opinion, are better than the Eye Spirit? Because it's a body on the board, and against a sprite, putting bigger bodies on the board is just better to force the battle phase and bait interruptions. When the Eye Spirit is a spell...
You just play both, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, he plays both.
Yeah.
I mean, play both. I don't know about that. Like,
Yeah, because I think you played. Bohdan played both. Like,
do I really want to play? Do I really want to play a D3S frog in my extra deck? I don't have any issue about the Eye Spirit.
What's up?
I think you do.
Well, in like 2 months' time, we get the new Tailman monster, which is an Aqua.
Yeah.
So
the new one is crazy.
It just does the exact same thing.
Yeah,
except you don't have to play a bad card in your extra deck.
Does that new one have a graveyard effect? It does, right?
If it's fusion summoned and sent to grave, it summons itself.
It's just another big collider.
Oh, that's gonna be nice when that card comes out. I'm high.
Like, here is the thing: do I really want to play 3DS Frog in the extra deck?
I mean,
it's bro. It's
that's just a frog hater, confirmed.
No, it's not. I'm a frog hater. Don't get me wrong. It's just that
it's commitment to an extra deck slot. Yes, I think I can understand your concern.
And the deck is already very tight.
The other crazy one is that if you have High Spirits, it lets you summon kick colors without having a monster on the field, which the dangers and other cards generally don't let you do. So you can't get cherries.
Yes, that's also a cool interaction. Yeah.
And then like obviously like the other draw phase tricks of like beating Droll, beating Vela. You know what I mean? Like those are like
Yep.
pretty relevant, I guess, but like probably less relevant.
Like-
Dole exists, but Bela doesn't
Yeah.
exist. So
And I think it's way better into Floods, in my opinion. Like I'm being very objective here. When I think about the card, I think the fact that like if you start off a danger and you summon like let's say a Jackalope, and then you trigger a tier name and they go like Rivalry, like you're sick.
yeah,
Like you're sick. Like
that's true.
at least this card, like you can first of all recycle the field spell to pop like you were mentioning. And it's also like way better into Rivalry. Because you just play like an aqua based deck, right? And that's not even that bad like that. So yeah, for sure.
I definitely
It's-
think the bad dangers are bad. Like I think Nessie is insane,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah,
then Jackalope, then Tsuchinoko.
I don't like,
But then like
Noko.
Mothman is unplayable into the mirror match. Like you
but
know what I mean?
Mothman
Like
is a
all the other
fucking
ones are literally
unplayable.
just there to like cycle for a free card and run typing. That's it. Like Bigfoot is there to facilitate Eradicator sometimes, but you don't need it because you just do that anyway.
Yes.
Like it makes it cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of people love
I'll test thy
Tsuchinoko.
spirit more because it's a card that I already theorized about at the start, and it was also on Facebook. Like I saw it in different groups as well. The issue is that, but I was really not convinced about the Death Frog commitment, and so I scrapped it out at my first attempt. I
Yeah.
scrapped it out. I was like, to be honest,
I
I,
mean,
think it's chicks, and then let's cut it.
Yeah.
But now
I'm gonna give
I
it
mean,
a try, right? Yeah, I'll give it. I'm gonna.
I'm gonna
give
give it a shot as well.
Yeah.
I think I want to give it a shot because, I mean, from the way you talk about it, from your experience, doesn't seem that bad as I thought, as I initially thought. So I will definitely
there
give
is
it a
literally zero punish if you're able to resolve that card.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to resolve that card, that means you didn't have a tear anyway, so it doesn't matter. You're not taking tier cards out. Like maybe you get to 40, maybe you cut the bad dangers and you just
Yeah.
play like 5 dangers or something. And I think like your deck is just gonna do what it's supposed to do quite often.
Yeah.
Like you're still not gonna beat Dweller, but like how else are you know what I mean? Like unless you're playing cards to actively beat Dweller, you don't go for gas, then like
Yep.
that's the only objective way to do it, right?
I also like the fact that you could draw with Albion. I think that's sick. And like if
Yeah,
you draw Albion,
that's
it's on a
like,
brick. Yeah. Puts stuff back, right? So
it just puts cards in grave for snow as well, which is kind of cool. Like you're just putting the second and third highest spirits in grave over like 2 turns, which is pretty relevant.
yes.
One in rotation, and you just put 2 cards in grave. So
Yeah.
I see.
I also tribute summon Albion to attack over something. I got Scythe, and I tribute summon the Albion that I
No
searched from my
way.
spirits. I got like Scythe and
It's 2,500, so
yeah.
run it.
Yeah, it was relevant. I could eradicate her. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I also
crazy.
summoned Albion to attack over something.
Oh no way.
Yo,
That's true. That's true.
Wait, when?
bro,
In the finals.
did you watch the final?
Dude, I feel like I blacked out during that final.
Bro,
to be honest.
that was a punch. That was a
Oh.
punchline, bro.
Jeez.
You missed it.
Oh,
You missed it.
I'm just.
That was a
behind.
punchline.
I'm just behind.
Holy.
All right, yo. Okay, let's talk about Eradicator. I know Bohdan just mentioned it. Yo, so anti mine counter and tier limits. So I know you played Eradicator. Did you feel like it was enough to have Eradicator? Okay.
Well, like if no one else is playing hand traps, I got hand trapped a couple times going for the Griffin line.
Yep.
But obviously the more you get into like top cut, the more you sort of know like okay, like my opponent's doing this versus it's smaller tournament setting. So like we'll usually know by like the end of day 1 or something. You'll have a really good idea of what everyone's playing in specific texts and stuff. Whereas like in America, you might only figure it out if it's like a known player or you're in like top 32 or something.
Yes.
But for Oz, it's like you have all of the different groups talking, and it's like I played versus this person. I know they're doing this, this, and this. So like, you know, I'd play a matchup and it'd be like, oh, well, this is the guy that my friend said he had like DD Crow and cherries in against me. So like, I'll play. You know what I mean? It's like I'll play around these cards. But that's the thing. Like everyone's lost to something weird. They're gonna tell you. You know what I mean? You figure out it's that guy. Like some of my students were citing like Necro Valley. And my friends would come up and be like, I lost to some dude who activated Necro Valley. I'm like, oh, that's my guy. That's my man. So I was like, hell yeah, dude. That's nice.
Yeah, dude. I wanted to be a savage. My sprite deck, I was side decking Necro Valley. I'm like, yo, I'm a bad. That like, yeah, savagery.
I think maybe not 2. It was like definitely 1 in top 8. I think Dino beat him.
Yeah.
He was playing Demise of the Land, Necro Valley, and Metaverse post side.
Oh,
Yeah, he activated 3 mines and a Necro Valley on me in the same game.
No way. That's disgusting.
holy! Someone
He's
woke
nice.
up
Necro
and
Valley's
choose
cutting off Valley
violence
cycle.
today.
Yeah. You know what what one of my favorite cards is right now? One of my favorite cards right now in tier limit is Paleozoic Dino Mishes. I've been loving that card.
That card's nice.
Yeah, dude, I want to play 3 in the main. Am I crazy? Tell me I'm crazy.
No, I've seen some people play 3 as well.
it.
Like obviously, like Dino had the success. You had Nets having the success with it. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, why? I don't get it. Why?
Bro, you summon it back, make an elf. What's up? Talk to me.
No, I don't get it. Why Dino-Miscus over Irate Draw?
Bro, because
it's good going first.
yeah.
If you just set
also,
Adonis
Irate
Miscus,
Draw is good going first if you go for Kaleido art.
Stop the cap, bro. I'd rather have spot removal than some high rated draw card, no cap. Like I'd rather like have the option to like banish my opponent's card. Like, cause think about it. Let's say
I mean, in Dino deck also makes more sense because he has Entraps.
oh, because you can draw into them? Nah, but I think Dino Missions is better. If you get Mind, right? It's way better to Dino Missions the Mine at end phase than to high rated draw, blow up your whole board, and then like, and you have to do that in draw
But here
phase.
is the thing, now if someone is playing Mine and they are also playing the Runic cards, you don't set against Runic.
Yeah, that's true too.
That is a big one.
Yeah.
That's gonna be like a big issue that we found too. But it was like so Eradicate is I think the one against Rune that makes the most sense. Like regardless of the build that you're playing, I think it might just have to find its way in some capacity.
It beats like the Lava Golem, the Sphere modes, yeah.
And that's
Yo,
only
also,
because like
if you're playing
every
against,
other card that interacts into Rune just really sucks.
Yeah.
like if you're playing against Rune, like because my build's got like 20 spell traps, I just like if I had to, I would probably just like set everything possible. Like you're gonna miss probably, and all you need is one turn, or like you just meta noise the card in the extra monster zone, and then suddenly they can't play anymore, and then suddenly you can't get locked out of mine, and then you just shuffle and pop all their field spells.
Sometimes they're just not letting you get to that point though, because that was like the main thing at the beginning. Like we were like, oh, you just snowed the extra monster zone guy, and you know it's fine. But it's just sort of like devolved past that point. They have the advanced technology. The worst one has to be Tribute Summon Majesty's Fiend. Seems like the most toxic one. But
bro, there's some toxic Tribute Summon monsters that you can do with like Rune
They're
cards.
nice, dude. They love that stuff. This deck is like shaping up to be one of my favorite decks. I don't want to play against it ever, but I like watching people play it.
Yeah.
It just gets more and more ignorant.
So Dino, I have your deck list in front of me. You were playing Unending Nightmare.
Oh yeah.
That's 100% because Rio PTSD. I saw the deck that came first. I'm just like, you know what? Unending Nightmare beats this, and in general, like it beats Adventure, it beats Mine. Like all the Mine decks, like they just can't play if you.
No, I don't think it's a bad card. I like it.
I didn't draw it throughout the entire event, not a single time, so that's fun.
I mean, yeah, but I like it. I don't like the tier elements counter trap. That's
yeah, I did not like it either. I did have it once, and it was just a safety cushion, and then my opponent just played really strangely around it, and proceeded to make a lot of mistakes. Because it does shuffle the monster back into deck, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if I have to look at your side, like the only cards that I don't like are Ogre and the counter trap. I think Unending is fine. Twin Twister, if I was to play a counter to Mystic Mine or to Floodgates, and Bohdan, I think, would remember about this card, Spiritualism.
Oh, I like Spiritualism. That card's funny.
Yeah.
It's the thing about Spiritualism. It's a card that the activation cannot be negated, and it's good in the grind game, especially when you get in a grind game against a Mystic Mine deck. You know it's gonna basically dig for judgments. It's gonna dig for cursed seals, and your Cosmic is not good at that point.
Yeah, it will never resolve. It's like 90% not resolving.
Yes.
That has to be the thing, right? And then the only thing the Rune deck can do is just like hope that they mill the Spiritualism.
Yeah.
So,
and I think all you have to do is like set up 5 monsters in attack position, ready to cook them, and just go Spiritualism on the Mine. Don't play into Judgment. Don't play into anything else. Just go battle phase attack. And I think that's usually good enough. Yeah.
pretty much.
The only thing is scary is like Flood Zone. If they have a rivalry plus Mine, like I mean I don't know, it's kind of scrambling to be honest. But yeah.
Pretty much. Just can't do shit.
Yep. But yeah.
I would also like to go on the meme of the week. There were someone in top 32 that didn't play the field spell Interior Elements. How the hell did he top?
So that was James English. He was the South
Yes.
Island champ in New Zealand. He did get the 2-round bye at the start. And yeah, he went to Worlds for Dragon Duels. He's a really good player.
I went to Worlds with him that year. He's really good. And he just became a good like main event player as well because he won their South Island Championship.
He won that with Virtual World, I think. Like he was playing
good.
Virtual World against like all the like Drytron and all those sort of things. Like he's
should have,
insane.
He might have got the sheet from Nash.
Yeah. This kind of Giga Chat, I'm not gonna lie. No field spells. I respect it, bro.
Only.
I respect it. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, that's a very good achievement right there to make top 32 without the field spell. That's actually big. I mean, he said he couldn't get them.
He lost to the Eldritch Stun deck in top 32.
I think the original list that we had with the Danger tier deck with like Brow and stuff had one field spell. Because like you just played more Dangers and you wanted to like not really like this is when like we're just playing it like a cheese combo deck.
Yep.
At the beginning, and it still didn't look bad. You know, you only had your one field spell. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, but the more you play the tier deck, the more the field spell just
testing,
becomes.
it's like, oh, we should definitely play 3, but like, yeah, pretty much. Like initial thoughts were like, damn, I don't want to draw too many of these. It's like, no, I want to draw all of these, but not all at once.
Yep. Yo, have you guys heard? We'll move on a little bit. Segue to the event this weekend. Bohdan, I believe you're also going to be playing at YCS Niagara. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yo, what are your thoughts on the early cap? You think they're gonna have spots still or not? Because I know a lot of people are super frustrated. A lot of known players actually are unable to play right now because they didn't pre-register in time. What do you think?
It'll be interesting. I want to know what the number was, right? Like that would be the biggest thing. Yeah, because like if it's smaller and they're accommodating a smaller event for maybe American judges who can't go into Canada for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have like enough for judge stuff. I had to cap it at like 500 or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like kind of okay because that means that they have the foresight. It's like, well, we could leave it open and not have enough judges, and the event's just gonna be, like kind of not as good. Yeah, like that's gonna be the big one. If they still have enough judges and everything else, and like everyone that's pre-reg, like.
Yeah.
You can't really ask for too much else, right? But like if we get there and it's still gonna be like 1 hour delay, here's this, here's that, after not letting so many other people not play.
Yeah, I think this was a surprise to many players.
It'd be disappointing, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah. I'm hopeful too.
I mean, another surprise is the fact that the event will not be streamed. So guys, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, no stream sad. That's just sick right now because he's like, yo, this is my job. Yeah.
Yeah, streams definitely add a lot to Yu-Gi-Oh events in general. It's just so nice to be able to rewatch afterwards. Mm-hmm. Like it's a really big part of community building as well.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, it's real disappointing when there's not a stream of an event.
Dude, yeah. I remember when I was on feature at I think Hartford, bro. After I made that illegal play with the Predaplant Chlamydia, I was getting murdered. on the social medias. Oh man, you gotta love you gotta love it. But yeah, dude, I do think like overall like just I think like the streams like are really you're sick because you gotta understand like so many people are not able to make these events, right? So like for the average player base, like this is a big deal because they want to watch what's going on. They want to see what's happening.
Brother.
And yeah, it's just sad. It's just super sad.
Brother, Radio Nash is gonna be back.
Nash, I'll call you. Don't worry. I'll give you the rundown.
Are you actually? Because I'm gonna call you.
Oh yeah, don't call me, bro. I'm turning my phone off. Yeah, just hire some guy at the venue. I'm sure.
Okay, I'll do that.
You know how many people are not gonna be able to play, so I'm sure you can get someone.
I'll actually do that.
But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming on. Before we head out, do you guys have one piece of advice that you want to give to players listening on how to, I guess, improve and get better? I guess you guys are both like accomplished players, and so I guess it'll be helpful for someone if they can take away one piece of advice they can get from you guys. Anything you wanted to add?
Definitely find a deck that you really enjoy playing and only play that deck until you figure out everything about that deck. And then after that, just branch out to the next deck you find cool, and so on and so on. Because a lot of people just kind of pick up the deck of the month and only learn it on a real surface level, and they don't really see results in it. And just sticking to a deck is definitely how you get a lot better at the game.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, just like a lot of people just like changing decks without realizing why they're doing so. And that's something I think you sort of save like when you have more knowledge about the game, right? Because like if you're still learning, and changing a deck is just like another layer of learning that you have to do.
Yep.
So yeah, like if you're like not particularly strong as a player, like you can learn, but it's gonna be more difficult if you keep changing decks like event to event, assuming like, oh, you get to an event, you're like, oh shit, did you hear like that like Luxury's playing this deck or something? And you switch to like that deck the day of. And I think that's why you see a lot of people, they only, had experience based off something like that. It's like they go into the event, they're like, I don't know what I want to play. Someone will tell them like the Friday or the Thursday, and it might just be the nicest deck in the room. And it happens so often. I think it's very funny, but like not everyone's at that level.
Yes, yeah, to just pick up deck last minute. Yeah, no, wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
you know what's so funny? I'm actually gonna take that advice myself, bro. I've been scrambling for a deck this weekend, and I think I promised myself I'm gonna lock it in tonight, and really grind it out. So I'm gonna take that.
I think we saw some very good and technical play from Poe. From Poe when he used the Toad under the barrier. I think it was him, if I'm not mistaken.
Like Toad effect in the grave to add it back? What do you mean?
No, Toad effect to negate after he called Xyz with the barrier.
Oh, okay.
And because the barrier only affects Xyz on board, but not in the graveyard, so Toad could resolve. I think it was from Poe, if I'm not mistaken.
I actually didn't even know that myself. Wait, are you sure?
I don't think it works that way.
Yeah, I thought it like negates it. I thought it's like even though it negates, is it like it's like skill drain Nash? Are you sure?
Negate the effect.
The barrier says negates the effect on the board.
Okay, it doesn't say negate the activate or like negate the effects while they are on the field. Yeah, it does.
Oh, it say while they're on the field. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that. Hey,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like I literally took notes when he made that play because you have to study deeply a deck in order to see that interaction.
I think you just have to read the card and you know it works that way.
I mean, yeah, bro, you have also to read, but you have.
Pretty much. Well, you read it and you're like, this is an effect veiler or chalice or droplet, right? You know it's like not affecting it on board. It's saying while it's on the field. I think it's a big one. Like Drager Sepelia as well. Like if they put a counter on it for whatever reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, anyways, yo, guys, thanks so much for coming on. Bohdan, I'll see you this weekend. And yo, Dino, good luck with your work. And I know you're back to the reality of life after a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And GUUCAST signing out. Peace.